once again inviting all our eminent panelists. We have with us Dr. Suresh Kumar Chaudhary, Deputy Director NRM ICAR, Dr. Shailesh Agarwal, ED BMTPC, Sri Chetan Bhakkar, Grant Thornton India LLP, Sri Lalit Jain, Director DST, Government of Himachal Pradesh. Our session moderator, Dr. Anshu Sharma, co-founder Seeds India. Session chair, Sri Rajendra Singh, member NDMA, and co-chair, Sri Lalit R. Gabane, Director General NSCI. So, ladies and gentlemen, the topic for the session is sectoral approach and regional context to resilience, and the time duration for the session is approximately 1 hour 20 minutes, which includes the opening and closing remarks by the distinguished chair and deliberations by all other eminent panelists on the panel. And with those words, I hand over to our session moderator, Dr. Anshu Sharma, co-founder Seeds India, to kindly carry forward the proceedings of the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, and a very, very good morning to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. It's a packed session, but there's a lot we have to cover, and the title itself, we need to be grateful to the organizing committee to give us this very challenging conversation on sectoral approaches and regional context. So sectoral approaches are for us to be able to focus better and focus sharper for this very wide-ranging theme that we are addressing on resilience. But regional context is something that enables us to have a wider impact. Right? Now, as someone had said, you have a choice of going an inch wide and a mile deep, or a mile wide and an inch deep. We have to make choices on how we deploy our limited resources. And here we have a conundrum, because we want to go deep through sectoral approaches, but we do want to go wide with the regional context that we are challenged through. So a very warm welcome to our panel and our chairs. I was hoping to start this off with very brief comments from across the panel, including our distinguished commentators, and then have some time for opening this up to the floor, because this is a session where we would really like to engage and give some nuggets, some inputs to the proceedings of this session, where at NIDM with NDMA we will be trying to figure out pathways, segues across these different sections for a resilient 2047. With that, may I turn actually immediately to our panel. Let me start from the other end. Let me actually start from Chetan, Mr. Chetan Bhakkar from Grant Thornton LLP India. And what I would request, Chetan, starting you, is that if we could, spend about 4 to 5 minutes sharing what we have from our experiences and our knowledge base on how we see the top 2 or 3, segues that should take us from this conversation into a very clear approach for a Vision 2047. And coming from the private sector, maybe you're a partner who's very valuable to take this forward. Chetan.
Sure. Thanks, Anshu, and I'll thanks the committee for having us here. I'll just give you, in terms of the previous session, we heard that, and last 2 days also, India is envisioning by 2047 we are going to be one of the superpowers. We need to be an economically developed nation. Very important is how do we push, agriculture sector. Still 60% of our population is directly, indirectly dependent on that. And unless resilience is brought into this sector, we may not be able to address the challenges that whether our urban areas are facing or even metropolitan areas are facing. Now, what do we look at in terms of agriculture as a sector, and how do we build a resilience for that? One is we are largest producers in across the world. If it's, I'll take specific cases here, is in terms of horticulture. A lot of farmers are depending on that. It's again more high value added agriculture, but are we building an enough ecosystem or food value chain system for us to reduce the carbon footprint? Are we creating communities which could enable a sustainable value chain systems for the horticulture crops? And in this context, I will just share a couple of projects, or rather our field experience, Anshu, in terms of giving the regional context to it along the sector. One is what we've done in Himachal Pradesh with the state government and ADB, and one at Maharashtra. So within Himachal, the subtropical part of Himachal, there's a subsistence farming that's happening. Several years ago, there used to be horticulture, but farmers have given away because of flash floods and other natural and other hazards. And now, in last 3 to 4 years, by use of climate resilient varieties, innovations around the irrigation systems, drip practices, and most important is involving communities, creating a cluster-based model where communities are empowered to undertake not only market-oriented varieties or production, but also which are more climate resilient. And that's where this pilot, which started 2 years ago with 200 acres, is now being scaled up to 6,000 acres, where 16,000 farmers from the subtropical area are moving towards the sustainable horticulture crops. I'll take a view around Maharashtra, which is again a surplus in horticulture crops, largest producer of some of the fruits and vegetables that India produces and exports. But 20 to 30% of them get wasted. Why? Because we don't have appropriate farm infrastructure, post-harvest facilities. At the same time, the communities are not involved in terms of, if you look at a supply chain, it at least has a large number of intermediaries that again leads in terms of losses. Now, what the state is consciously doing is, of late we've been seeing a lot of emphasis around, farmer-producer companies. They are nothing but the communities at a rural level. Decentralized infrastructure is being created. They are being trained. This infrastructure is more around, which is again around the sustainable practices of using pack houses, cold chain, climate resilient infrastructure, which enables the farmer to extend the shelf life of a produce, and that transports. So they are actually, disintermediating the supply chain, and that really reaches us to in the urban areas. That's what trying to do. The point I'm trying to make is that unless we have these community-driven models, rather, I would say, we would not empower the sector which gets affected most because of the disaster. The risk mitigation practice in this sector is to how do you empower a community so that he plows back. And I'll put this for the agriculture in 3 contexts in terms of there has to be an economic resilience, there has to be a social resilience, and there has to be then a climate resilience or an environment resilience. And this has to be a 3-pronged approach. Unless you empower the farming community economically, they would not switch over to the environmental and social factors. And what we are trying to do in these programs and project, one example I'll take, we have developed a model around which talks about local economic development model, wherein you work with a cluster-based approach with the farmers, mainstream the women. Women are the large number of farmers who work on farm, but they don't get recognized. How do you create these SHGs to be the mainstream actors and play a larger role, and then train them around all the resilient practices, whether it's around good agricultural practices, introduce the climate change practices. This is the way ahead. Capacity building then would go to the last mile connectivity. I would park my thought here, Anshu, but very important that Professor Sharma also said, like Sikkim is doing a lot of good work around communities and others. We also have a national disaster management plan for agriculture that's been prepared. States are working on their own sectoral plans. But how do mainstream all this into and field level action would be a challenge, and I would request if we could put up some kind of action points by 2047. Can we have more of Amuls? Can we have more of Sahyadris? Can we have more of other community-driven organizations which would not only take forward our economic agenda, but the resilient agenda also forward? Thanks.
Thank you so much, Chetan, for rolling this off really well. There is a lot you have said, but a few things that really stand out. One is, on one side you're talking about agri-tech, and the other side you're talking about people-based approaches. On one side you're talking about the value chain and ramping that up, and on the other side you're talking about cutting losses, because if we ramp up by 20%, but if we are losing 30% in the losses, then there's no point. We're actually running to slide back. From this and the two great examples you've shared, Himachal and Maharashtra, let me move to Dr. Shailesh Agrawal. Sir, you come from a field of another tech. You come from the building tech, which is also another race that India is in right now. Our Honorable Minister keeps talking about how much we need to build to be able to deliver, the promises, the economic promises we are making. So moving from agri to build tech, where do you see this operating? And I know you see this challenge a lot in BMTPC, that particularly at the lower economic strata, where the rural housing and other constructions and the urban poor that we are servicing, how do we mix these challenges? How do we create a vision for 2047 that is moving way ahead from where we are into thriving as an economy, but again, these two things, the regional context and the sectoral approaches? So wherever you like, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Anshu, and very good morning to all of you. Let me start with saying that we are into Amrit Kal, and by 2047, all of you will agree with me that India is one of the fastest growing economy in the world. We are already $3 trillion economy, and very soon we will be touching 5 trillion, and by God's grace, we will be, by 2047, we will be $10 trillion economy. Secondly, everybody is talking about net zero habitat. So sustainability is another thing which is very important. And India, the present government is quite visionary. Let me tell you that in 2014, when this government took over, in 2025, the biggest ever scheme of housing for all was launched, and not only for urban areas but also for rural areas. And since I come from Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, I will talk about that urban housing here. So in 2015, Government of India realized that we need to provide house to every household in the country by 2022. The year is passed, and all of us know the significance of 2022, that was the 75th year of our independence. And that time when we started that mission in 2000, so there were two missions. One was Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban, and another one was Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Rural. So when we started this mission, let me just give you a few figures. We asked there are so many, statistics available in literature or by researchers and all about the housing shortage. So we kept everything aside, and we asked the states to give their validated shortage of housing in all the sectors. And let me again share with you, when we talk about housing shortage, more than 95% housing shortages for the bottom of the pyramid people, poorest of the poor. Okay, so when we started that mission, validated demand given by states was 1.12 crore. So in 2015, the housing shortage was estimated to be 1.12 crore. And you will be happy to note, when I'm talking to you, we have already sanctioned 1.227 crore houses already to different states. And out of that, 1.07 crore houses have already been grounded, and 67 lakh or 6.7 million houses have already been handed over to beneficiaries. So many houses we make, and let me also tell you that in rural also the similar exercise started, and there around 1 crore. 10 million houses have already been constructed and handed over to beneficiaries. So the major question comes to mind when we are constructing so much, sectoral, regional, sustainability, resilience. Let me again tell you, the present government, when they started this Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban, they started a parallel submission called technology submission. Anshu knows about it. And through technology submissions, organizations like BMTPC and other, they were asked to handhold state governments and, in fact, up to the urban local bodies level, to handhold them and tell them, teach them, train them about the sustainability and resilient aspects. Okay, so any project, any house construction which comes to Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, we do talk about sustainability, climate resilience we talk about embodied energies, we talk about resilient structure. So all these houses which we are making, their resilience and sustainability is given top priority, and this mission is running. And you can just imagine we have allocated 5% of total money for technology submission, for capacity building. And if you try to calculate around 1.22 crore houses, and if you multiply it with some lakhs, then 5% of this is a huge money which is being dedicated towards technology submission, so that we can mainstream sustainable and good construction practices through this Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. Let me also tell you here that all of us know there are two things which are happening right now. One is climate change, another thing is urbanization. And I have been telling, it has become my favorite topic for last few months, that we clocked 8 billion in 15 November 2022. The world population was 8 billion, and yesterday again there was a news item in newspaper that India is going to be the most populous country. Okay, in 1950 we were 15% lower than China, and by 2050 we will be 15% higher than China, our population. And another thing is that we are fast urbanizing, and by 2050, it's a UN published report that 815 million people will live in urban areas in our country. That means 81.5 crore. So what do we do for this, fast urbanization? So in fact, in one of the conference, our minister quoted that in order to cater to aspirations of this urban people, or to cope with this fast urbanization, we have to build 600 to 800 million square meter urban space every year. That is equal to New Chicago every year till 2030. So India has to build 600 to 800 million square meter, or a New Chicago city every year till 2030. So to tackle that, what we did, again, Honorable Prime Minister asked us that do we have some technologies which can expedite the construction. Normally, all of us know construction takes 18 months to 24 months. So do we have systems, technologies, materials which can help build faster? And let me share with you that in 2019, at the behest of Honorable Prime Minister, we organized a Global Housing Technology Challenge, where we looked around the globe and asked the global agencies to come and share with us their building practices which can help India build at a much faster rate without sacrificing resource efficiency, climate resilience, and other things which we talk about. So we shortlisted around 54 new construction systems which are not only resilient but sustainable as well. We are talking about thermal comfort, we are talking about carbon credits, we are talking about waste utilization and all those things. And we didn't stop there. We created this basket of 54 technologies, and right now we are showcasing these 54 technologies, which are divided into 6 categories through lighthouse projects. And in fact, they are aptly called lighthouse. So these are lighthouse building projects, and all of you, these lighthouse projects are being done in a city of Chennai, then in Rajkot, one is in Agartala, one is in Ranchi, one is in Indore. And the last, and another one is in Agartala, Rajkot, Ranchi, Indore, Chennai, and Lucknow. All of you can go and see these projects and see the technology transition taking place in India. Okay, so that will be all from my side. And for sectoral and this, Anshu was involved with us right from the beginning. BMTPC is very proud to share with you that we have a vulnerability atlas of India, which is assimilation of natural hazard scenario of our country up to the district level. And to reach out to the people, what we did, we have created a digital edition of it. And that digital edition of Vulnerability Atlas of India is available online. In fact, if you want shape files, if you want to, digitize for your, place, and you want a shape file or something on a GIZ platform, that also we do provide. So all of you, on a click of a mouse through that website, you can know the natural hazard or hazard assessment of your site. Again, Anshu, because since Anshu is here, so I must tell that Anshu and me, we started that let's teach, let's create awareness about this vulnerability atlas, that how to read this and what are the hazard things, and also we developed a e-course on vulnerability atlas of India, which is available on the web platform, and through that, again, we are reaching out to the people and talking about resilience. So I think I have.
Thank you so much, LG. One question I've never dared to ask you in person, but let me use this platform. We are building houses at a really commendable rate. The Housing for All mission will achieve success very soon. But if we talk about 2047, then one issue that comes to mind is that, we are now building in places which were earlier not built upon. A lot of these are low-lying places. A lot of these are places that work today, but with the change in climate may not work in the future. And I think one incident where it hit us really hard was the 2018 Kerala floods, because there's a lot of work that had happened on housing, but a lot of those houses went under water in the floods. So how can we think, this vulnerability atlas piece also, how can we think of those places and those built environments which seem good right now but will not work in 2047? So while we build, how do we anticipate?
Okay, I think it's a tricky question, but that call has to come from within. See, what happens, because I come from Ministry of Housing, housing is a state subject. Okay, so ultimately those areas and all those things are to be designated by the state. But let me tell you here that whenever there is a proposal of any housing scheme or any, we call it detailed project report, whenever it comes, the first point, in fact, it has been made mandatory by Ministry of Finance that any time, whenever you propose a project, you need to first talk about the geoclimatic condition and the geotechnical condition of that area, and accordingly you have to plan. So we do have checks and balances, but despite of that, what Anshu says is still correct, and that call has to be taken by state governments. But at the central level, we do take care of. In fact, our Vulnerability Atlas of India, when it was released by Honorable Prime Minister, he himself said that in all the tender documents, there should be mention of Vulnerability Atlas of India. Then we prepared a tender clause for NDMA, and that was circulated to all the states and all the departments that whenever you plan a project or you initiate a tender, you must include this. But again, your point is very pertinent. That call has to come from the department.
So perhaps we can, we'll request Dr. Gupta if we can include a recommendation from here that let us make a vulnerability atlas of 2047. Let's make it now. And that can help guide discussions. But I know it's a challenge, but something we can, look forward to and have a discussion ahead. Let's move on from here. Let me now come to Shri Lalit Jain, who's joining us from DST, Himachal Pradesh. So we've just heard a case on Himachal Pradesh. Your state has been facing a lot of challenges. We've all read about the last apple tree, and there's so much that's happening. And still you're doing a really great job of planning ahead. So in your experiences and your vision of how we drive it to 2047.
थैंक यू अंशु जी, एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण मुद्दा आपने जो सेक्टोरल और रीजनल कंटेक्स्ट का आज यहाँ पर रखा है, क्योंकि हम वातानुकूल एनवायरनमेंट में रहकर ये अंदाज़ा नहीं लगा सकते कि क्लाइमेट चेंज क्या है। ये तो हिमाचल का जो कॉमन मैन है उससे जाकर पूछिए, जिसको डेली इसका ब्रंट बेयर करना पड़ता है। और हिमाचल एक ऐसी स्टेट है जहाँ पर कुदरत ने बहुत सी नेचर के बहुत कमाल के हमें रिसोर्सेज तो दिए ही हैं, बट बहुत सेंसिटिव दिए हैं। द नेचर इज़ वेरी सेंसिटिव। अभी रिसेंटली अब हमारे पड़ोस में उत्तराखंड का हमने एग्जांपल देखा, जोशीमठ का, और हिमाचल भी सेम टेरेन है और उसी तरह की जो चीज़ें हैं वो हिमाचल के अंदर भी नज़र आती हैं। अभी पैनलिस्ट ने बिल्कुल ठीक बात की, हमारी डेवलपमेंटल नीड्स, चाहे वो हाउसिंग की हो, इंडस्ट्री की हो, रोड्स की, डेवलपमेंट भी करनी है और पर्यावरण को भी बचाना है, स्टेट का जो बड़ा सेंसिटिव स्ट्राटा है उसको भी बचाना, ये डेली का डायलेमा है जो हिमाचल में हमें फेस करना पड़ता है। देखिए, एक तो पक्ष है इसका कि साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी के माध्यम से हम कुछ ऐसी टेक्निक्स अपनाएं जिसके थ्रू हम क्लाइमेट चेंज को या कोई भी इन्वायरमेंटल इफेक्ट को मिटिगेट कर सकें। एक मैं उदाहरण देना चाहूँगा, हमारे यहाँ नाहन सिरमौर नाम का ज़िला है जहाँ पर विभाग के द्वारा एक बहुत छोटा सा प्रोजेक्ट चलाया गया। 30,000 फार्मर्स को क्लाइमेट चेंज से लड़ने के लिए ट्रेन किया गया। जिस तरह से अभी बात की हमारे यहाँ साथी जो हैं चेतन जी, उन्होंने कि किस तरह से फार्मर्स को ट्रेन करके बेटर रीसेलिएंट वेराइटीज़ को यूज़ करके हम क्लाइमेट चेंज से लड़ सकते हैं। अब ये प्रोजेक्ट में 30,000 फार्मर्स को विभाग के द्वारा ट्रेन किया गया कि किस तरह से हम टमाटर जैसे वहाँ की फसल है, गार्लिक है, जिंजर है, हम किस तरह से क्लाइमेट रीसेलिएंट जो कम पानी का इस्तेमाल करती हों, पेस्टिलेंस से रीसेलिएंट हों, इस तरह की फसलें हम कैसे उगाएं। और बहुत ही कमाल के रिजल्ट हमारे सामने नज़र आए हैं। और वहाँ फार्मर प्रोड्यूसर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन या कंपनी बन चुकी है। करोड़ों रुपए की फसल वो लोग जो पहले नहीं हो पाती थी बिकॉज क्लाइमेट चेंज की वल्नरेबिलिटी में ये ज़िला बहुत आगे था, वो आज फार्मर्स दिल्ली की आज़ादपुर की आपकी मंडी के अंदर बेच रहे हैं। अब एक बहुत छोटा सा उदाहरण था कि एक छोटा सा स्टेप और बहुत ज़्यादा कॉस्ट नहीं थी। नबार्ड ने हमें सपोर्ट किया, 20 करोड़ की कॉस्ट थी, 30,000 फार्मर्स को हमने उसके अंदर इन्वॉल्व किया और बहुत सी चेंज हम वहाँ पर देख रहे हैं। उनकी इरिगेशन को हमने रिवैम्प किया है। एक हमारे लिए बहुत अच्छी एक लेबॉरेटरी और एक डेमोस्ट्रेटिव प्रोजेक्ट बनकर वो निकला। यदि सिरमौर के 30,000 फार्मर्स कर सकते हैं तो कहीं और के भी कर सकते हैं। हालांकि मैं ये बात यहाँ कहना चाहूँगा कि हिमाचल जैसे स्टेट्स जो कि लंग्स भी हैं देश की और सोर्स ऑफ फ्रेश वाटर भी हैं। आज आप सबको मालूम होगा कि दिल्ली की पानी की सप्लाई के लिए रेणुका का प्रोजेक्ट हिमाचल में बन रहा है। प्रोजेक्ट बन रहा है, बहुत अच्छी बात है, हम उस पर पैसे भी खर्च कर रहे हैं, पर यदि उसका स्ट्रीम ही ड्राई हो गया तो वो प्रोजेक्ट के साथ हम क्या कर पाएंगे। वो केवल एक दीवार का और ईंट पत्थर का प्रोजेक्ट बनकर वहाँ पर रह जाएगा। अब उसके लिए बड़ा ज़रूरी है स्प्रिंग शेड मैनेजमेंट और स्प्रिंग्स को रिवाइव करना, जिसकी तरफ आईसी मॉड के प्रतिनिधि भी आज यहाँ पर मौजूद हैं। स्प्रिंग शेड्स का बहुत महत्व है लोकल कम्युनिटीज़ के लिए भी, और बिकॉज स्प्रिंग्स ही इकट्ठे होकर नदी बनाते हैं और नदी ही फिर फाइनली समुंदर में मिलती है। स्प्रिंग्स क्योंकि सड़कें बनती हैं, बिल्डिंग्स बनती हैं, और कोई भी जो एक्टिविटी मशीनों के द्वारा कर दी जाती है, स्प्रिंग्स इतने सेंसिटिव हैं दैट दे गेट डिस्टर्ब्ड, और वंस स्प्रिंग गेट्स डिस्टर्ब तो उसका इफेक्ट आप आगे खुद ही समझ सकते हैं। तो उसके अंदर भी हिमाचल जो है वो कार्य करना चाहता है। डॉक्टर अग्रवाल साहब ने बिल्डिंग्स की बात अभी यहाँ पर की। आपको एक उदाहरण देता हूँ कि जो ऑफिस है डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी का, वो अंग्रेज़ों की बनाई हुई बिल्डिंग है, लगभग 100 साल पुरानी वो बिल्डिंग है। आज हमें वहाँ पर कोई भी लाइट जलाने की आवश्यकता नहीं पड़ती और बहुत अच्छी उसके अंदर वेंटिलेशन है। अंग्रेज़, मैं कोई उनकी तारीफ़ नहीं कर रहा, पर एक बात है कि जो भी इंजीनियर थे शायद उनके अंदर ये अवेयरनेस थी कि हमें ऐसी बिल्डिंग्स बनानी है विच आर रीसेलिएंट टू क्लाइमेट। और यदि वो 100 साल पहले, जब उनके पास एलिमेंट्री जानकारियाँ बहुत कम थी, आज की टेक्नोलॉजी को देखते हुए हमारे पास तो बहुत कुछ अवेलेबल है, वल्नरेबिलिटी एटलेस है, नए इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स हैं, तो क्यों ना आज हम प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर अग्रवाल साहब ने जैसे बात की, इनके आइडियाज़ लेकर हम स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स के साथ मिलकर ऐसी बिल्डिंग्स बनाएं। हिमाचल में मल्टी स्टोरी बिल्डिंग्स बनाने की क्या आवश्यकता है, क्यों ना नई तकनीकों के साथ हम कुछ ऐसी बिल्डिंग्स बनाएं जहां पर सनलाइट भी आए सीधा बिना बिजली के इस्तेमाल से, वहाँ पे हम सोलर पैनल्स भी लगा पाएँ, वहाँ पर वाटर रिसाइकलिंग का इंतज़ाम हो, ड्यूल प्लम्बिंग का इंतज़ाम हो। बहुत से ऐसे मुख्तलिफ इसके फैसेट्स हैं जिसको हम इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं अपनी बिल्डिंग्स के अंदर। सेक्टोरल की बात तो है ही है, बिकॉज डिफरेंट सेक्टर्स का डिफरेंट इफेक्ट क्लाइमेट चेंज पे और डिफरेंट, उसके लिए हमें स्ट्रैटेजीज चाहिए। एग्रीकल्चर के लिए अलग, हॉर्टिकल्चर, देन आपका जल शक्ति के लिए अलग चाहिए, आपकी ट्रांसपोर्ट के लिए अलग चाहिए। तो हिमाचल इन सभी जितने भी विभाग हैं इनके साथ कोशिश कर रहा है, क्योंकि हमारा एक क्लाइमेट एक्शन प्लान बन चुका है 2030 तक। वी वर द फर्स्ट स्टेट जिसने ये भारत सरकार से भी अप्रूव करवाया। उस प्लान को साथ रखकर डिफरेंट सेक्टर्स कोशिश करते हैं कि वो अपनी प्लान्स एंड पॉलिसीज़ में क्लाइमेट चेंज को, रीसेलियंस को लेकर आ सकें। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी ने हिमाचल में ये ऐलान किया है कि वे चाहेंगे कि मैक्सिमम जितना हो सके वहाँ पर इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स चलें। तो ट्रांसपोर्ट सेक्टर इस कदम ताल में चल पड़ा है कि हम किस तरह से एटलीस्ट सरकार से इमीडिएट 2-4 सालों में शुरू करके हमारी जितनी सरकारी गाड़ी हैं उनको हम इलेक्ट्रिक कर ले और धीरे धीरे लोगों को भी इंसेंटिवाइज करें। ऑलरेडी जो पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट है वहाँ पर अब जितनी बसें खरीदी जा रही हैं वो इलेक्ट्रिक खरीदी जा रही हैं। एग्रीकल्चर के अंदर हमारे पास मल्टीलेटरल एजेंसीज का बहुत सपोर्ट आया है, जिसके तहत हम हॉर्टिकल्चर, एग्रीकल्चर और खासकर सेब के ऊपर, क्योंकि हमारी इकोनॉमी बहुत डिपेंड रहती है, लगभग 3 करोड़ बॉक्सेस हम सेब के हर साल भारत में डिफरेंट जगहों पे बेचते हैं। 3000 करोड़ की हमारी इकोनॉमी सेब के ऊपर डिपेंडेंट है। हम सेब के ऊपर बहुत काम कर रहे हैं, कुछ ऐसी वैरायटीज़ लेकर आए हैं जो ना केवल अर्ली यील्डिंग वैरायटीज़ हैं, बल्कि वो जो थोड़ा सा क्लाइमेट चेंज है, नीचे वाले एरियाज़ है जहाँ पर गर्मी है, वहाँ पर भी ये वैरायटीज़ जो हैं काम कर रही हैं। और इसके साथ ही जहाँ तक जल शक्ति का इशू है, हमारी कोशिश है कि हम छोटे छोटे ऐसे सोर्सेज रिवाइव करें पानी के, जो ट्रेडिशनल सोर्सेज रहते थे वहीं से पानी हम ड्रॉ करके, बिकॉज हिमाचल में बहुत कम जगह हम ग्राउंड वाटर एक्सट्रैक्ट कर पाते हैं, रॉकी सरफेस है, तो जनरली हम लिफ्ट इरिगेशन करते हैं। और लिफ्ट इरिगेशन जिन नालों से, जिन नदियों से करते हैं, अब वो ड्राई होती जा रही हैं। आज शिमला के अंदर आज 19 तारीख हो गई है, तो एक भी अभी बारिश हमारे यहाँ पर प्रॉपरली नहीं हुई है, जबकि ऐसा नहीं होता था। आप सभी ये जानते हैं कि क्रिसमस के दिनों में कहते हैं कि शिमले में बर्फ़बारी होनी है और सभी लोग जाते थे। इस बार ना क्रिसमस पर बर्फ़बारी हुई, ना न्यू ईयर पे हुई, और आज 19 तारीख है, अभी तक हमने पहली स्पेल भी शिमला के अंदर नहीं देखी। तो एक छोटा सा उदाहरण है किस तरह से क्लाइमेट चेंज हमारे सेंसिटिव जो माउंटेन रीजन है, चाहे सर आपका सिक्किम का क्षेत्र हो, चाहे हमारा हिमाचल का हो, हम बहुत ज़्यादा सेंसिटिव हैं क्लाइमेट चेंज पे। और हमें सेक्टोरल के साथ साथ रीजनल अपना कंटेक्स्ट भी चाहिए, बिकॉज हमारे ऊपर कोई भी और मॉडल काम नहीं कर सकता। हमें हमारे लिए स्पेशलाइज्ड मॉडल चाहिए। और हमारी एक और दिक्कत आती है, जितना आपका दिल्ली का एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट है उतना पूरी स्टेट की हमारी पॉपुलेशन है, तो कई बार हम उस चीज़ में, क्योंकि फिगर हैं, हम कहीं ना कहीं ये जो हमारे जैसे महत्वपूर्ण राज्य हैं क्लाइमेट चेंज के लिहाज से, उनको कहीं ना कहीं पीछे छोड़ जाते हैं, भूल जाते हैं। हमारी कई बार नेशनल पॉलिसीज़ में शायद वो, क्योंकि छोटा अमाउंट है, वो बात नहीं आ पाती। तो हालांकि छोटी स्टेट है, बहुत कम डेंसिटी ऑफ पॉपुलेशन है, ये भी हो सकता है गांव में केवल 30 प्राणी रहते हों, परंतु महत्वपूर्ण है, देश के लिए बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है, अपने लिए तो हिमाचल महत्वपूर्ण है ही है। हर लिहाज से आई थिंक एक रीजनल कंटेक्स्ट हमारा रीसेलियंस और क्लाइमेट चेंज का बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है और उसके ऊपर ध्यान देना चाहिए। हिमाचल का अपना मॉडल है, हमने कोशिश की है हम बेहतर कर पाएँ, और आप सबके आइडिया से, सपोर्ट से हम और बेहतर करेंगे। थैंक यू।
थैंक यू ललित जी। आपका जो छोटा सा उदाहरण था वो दरअसल हम सभी के लिए बहुत डरावना है, क्योंकि अगर आपके यहाँ बर्फबारी नहीं होगी तो वो केवल क्रिसमस का सवाल नहीं है, पर पूरे साल के लिए, उत्तरी भारत के लिए बहुत बुरी खबर लेकर के आएगा। मैं कुछ बिंदु इकट्ठे करता चल रहा हूं, जिससे कि अंत में हमें समरी करने की जरूरत नहीं होगी, लेकिन हम कुछ इंटरैक्शंस कर सकते हैं। 2 चीजें जो आपने बोली, एक तो आपकी बिल्डिंग तो सुंदर है ही, आपके विभाग ने बड़े दिग्गज दिए हैं देश को। सूद साहब हम में से कई लोगों के गुरु रहे हैं, हमने बहुत कुछ उनसे सीखा है। जो क्लाइमेट एक्शन प्लान की आपने बात करी 2030 का, वाकई हिमाचल ने बहुत आगे होकर के उसमें रास्ता दिखाया है करने का। और फिलहाल हुआ यह है कि प्रधानमंत्री जी, माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में हमने एक लक्ष्य रखा है, घोषणा करी है कि 2070 तक भारत नेट जीरो जाएगा। अब उस लक्ष्य को उस तक पहुंचने के लिए हर राज्य को, हर शहर को, हर गांव को अपने लक्ष्य रखने होंगे और उसके मुताबिक आगे बढ़ना होगा। तो आज हम 2047 की बात कर रहे हैं, पर कई राज्य, कई शहर ऑलरेडी ये काम कर रहे हैं कि 2050 तक हम कैसे लक्ष्य रखें नेट जीरो जाने का, और फिर उसके लिए कुछ माइलस्टोन्स रखें। तो एक तो चर्चा का विषय ये अच्छा रहेगा कि फिलहाल जो क्लाइमेट एक्शन प्लान 2030 के लिए हम सोच रहे हैं या 2040 के लिए सोच रहे हैं, उसको 2070 के लक्ष्य से कैसे कैसे हम कैलिब्रेट करें। और दूसरी चीज आपने रेणुका प्रोजेक्ट की कही, वो बहुत अहम है, और आज हम थोड़ी बहुत टेक और साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी की बात कर रहे हैं। जहां तक मुझे समझ आया है, शायद हमारे माउंटेन एरियाज के जितने माइक्रो वाटर शेड्स हैं, स्प्रिंग शेड्स हैं, वो तो अभी तक मैप्ड भी नहीं है। हम अनुमान लगाते हैं पर हमें मालूम नहीं वो कितने हैं और वो किस गति से लुप्त होते जा रहे हैं। तो एक बड़ा सक्रिय प्रयास चाहिए तुरंत कि कम से कम वो जानकारी तो आनी शुरू हो, और उसमें आपके विभाग का नेतृत्व पूरे देश के लिए बहुत ही अहम होगा। Thank you so much for your intervention and your examples that you shared. We will now move to Shri Suresh Kumar Chaudhary, the Deputy Director General NRM at ICAR. Sir, may I request you for your insights इसी दिशा में हम जहां बढ़ रहे हैं कि 2047 तक पहुंचने के लिए कितना विस्तार में जाना होगा, कितना फोकस सेक्टोरली करना होगा? Any examples, experiences from you, sir?
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, and thanks for inviting here in this important discussion. Agriculture, although we are considering a single sector here, but in reality, agriculture itself is a conglomeration of so many sectors together. When we are producing 300 plus million tons of food grains, we are producing roughly 325 million tons of horticulture produce, including fruits and vegetables. We are number one in milk production. Nothing is there. Which many. So am I audible? Perfect. है नहीं ना कुछ वहाँ पे बस ऐसे ही लगा disaster इधर भी. So anyway, what I want to say here is agriculture sector, although we are producing a lot from the resources which are available with us. I don't say resources are waste. 141 million hectare land is not a small area of land. Globally, if you see, hardly you will find few countries who have this kind of luxury with them. But India is blessed with all good natural resources, and 141 million hectare cultivated land is really a blessing. And on that we are producing, as I said, huge amount of food grain production, huge amount of horticulture produce, then animals also, and fisheries, inland and cold water fisheries together. So when this much is happening, it is not happening as such, because there are so many challenges. And challenges at the global level which are attributed to the kind of vulnerability we have and kind of variability we have. India is having 21 agroecological regions which have very distinct agroecology from each other. We have ecosystem-based approach. We have large amount of land in rain-fed system. We have large amount of land in irrigated system. We have coastal ecosystem. We have hilly ecosystem. We have island system, and also we have arid land ecosystem. So variability is huge, and therefore the productivity also varies from sector to sector. And climate change impacts each one of the resource, not only the resource, commodities as well, be it soil, water, climate, or forestry, agroforestry, whatever you see, everything get impacted by climate change. Climate change has really brought us concerns of productivity, the quality of food, and also its availability, particularly when we are trying to have a nation with fully food secure, fully nutritionally secure. Under such systems and such circumstances, if climate plays some role there, just an example, last year there was a heat wave. There was a heat wave and wheat production was impacted adversely. Now, we do not come to know all these things and we do not feel very serious because our food grain storages are so huge that such kind of the happenings, they do not impact the common man. Just imagine during the lockdown period, first lockdown, second lockdown, when the whole world was shook and whole world was trying to find out ways and means wherein they will get the grains. But India was a country who was not feeding its population but also exporting to the others. Hardly you will find examples in India where people starvation during the lockdown period. So enough food was there, and this was possible because of continuous agriculture produce, high quality food grain production, and also vegetable production. During the lockdown period, one more thing happened. When all the sectors were going down, agriculture was the only sector which was coming up and where positive productivity figures were observed. This we need to really appreciate. And this has happened there were so many factors, but one biggest factor was the agriculture in India is really equipped to face all climatic challenges or climate change impacts. It has capability to absorb these shocks. Last 5 years or 6 years, we see the rainfall pattern is not uniform. Maybe some years are called normal years from rainfall point of view, but its distribution was not normal. Areas which never witnessed excess rains, they witnessed, like in Rajasthan, they witnessed floods. Areas which used to get timely rains, they never got rains for a couple of months. And delaying rains for a couple of months means losing everything during the wet season crops. And this Kharif season, where we receive a lot of monsoon rains, is very, very important for Indian agriculture. Rabi is equally important, but Rabi is based on the irrigation where groundwater availability is there. But Kharif, the major impact of climate change or major agricultural disaster happens during the Kharif season. And if Kharif season is going out of hands, farmers are really the losers. Now, what ICR and what agriculture sector as a whole, National Agriculture Research and Education System, what we are doing, we have started the National Mission for Sustainable Agriculture, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. We started National Mission. Within that, we came up with a project which is a very well-known project for the whole country, which is called NICRA, N-I-C-R-A, National Innovations in Climate Resilient Agriculture. And this NICRA project is a wonderful project which is not only conducting research, basic research in climate change area, but also it is strengthening the capacity of farmers, strengthening the capacity of researchers, strengthening the capacity of the line department people, and also bringing more and more students to understand, learn, do their post-graduation, PhD, postdoctoral in the area of climate change. And this is really, this has transformed the whole canvas of agriculture sector. When I say agriculture, I do not mean crops all alone. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, just remember, agriculture means crops, horticultural crops, animals, fisheries, mechanization. So whole sector, calling it one sector, these sectors. So all the canvas is very big, and everywhere through this NICRA project we are trying to develop the capacities. So far, we have trained 14 lakh plus farmers on agricultural disaster management or risk management, or you call vulnerability management. Also 2,500 students so far, in 10 years, 2,000 students, they did their MSc and postdoctoral programs in the climate change impact on agriculture. Also, the line department people, more than 50,000 line department people. Small examples are there, but these small examples do not represent the whole canvas of agriculture in India. Agriculture in India, if you see, there are small landholders. The majority population is small land holdings, and therefore providing with the agriculture is important. And we are providing advisories condition for more than 8 crore farmers every year, both in Kharif and villages, not only villages but in cluster of villages. So at present we are present in 454 cluster of villages in this country, and we are directly working with the farmer. And this is other way around. Problems are coming up from farmers, and in participating we are working with them, providing solutions. These are some good things happening in the country. Just I have shared a few of them. It's a very, very long story. I came prepared with one presentation in my pocket also, but since looking at the limitations of the time, it was not possible to discuss everything. But certainly, I would like to tell you that for 2047, we have definite plans, action plans right now, and we want to move with bigger plans for futuristic kind of problems which will be faced by the Indian agriculture, and we are ready for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. We will certainly look for and find an opportunity to go through this in detail with you with the presentation, but thank you for all these things that you laid on the table. It's so impressive how from the research end to the spectrum, the other end of the spectrum where you are working directly with the farmers, also with this atlas that backs this. A very quick question, sir, again on similar lines, since we are talking about 2047 and you mentioned last year's heat wave, its impact on wheat and the rains and the floods in Rajasthan. Do we have the capability to create scenarios for 2047 on where these climate abruption, these trends are going to be and what we need to prepare for?
Yeah. Our one wing which is working on this is called Simulation Modeling Wing of NICRA project itself. We are analyzing the situation using the various RCP scenarios you are aware of. So RCP 4.5 and beyond that, and what latest methodology emerged from IPCC, and again we are analyzing whole scenario in different situations of risk and our capability. By now we have built the capability. Some capability we have, some traditional knowledge we already had, and some nature positive solutions we are looking forward. Nature positive solution is we are talking of natural farming. We are talking of organic farming. The state where from Dr. R.P. Sharma is representing Sikkim is the state where organic farming is the main way of farming there. So how to take advantage of that and take that advantage in other part of the country. Similarly, natural farming, I have told, the third option.
Because if you don't handle the carbon handling operation, you will face a lot of problems. We have been planning to supply shore electricity to the shore, from the shore to ships for the ancillary engines, so that when a ship comes to our port, they can use our energy from the shore, so that they can use less that this called diesel they are using. And in addition to that, we are also planning for plantation programs. We have already developed. We have already planted 9.5 lakh hectare, 9.5 lakhs of mangrove plantation in our coastal areas, and along the river coast we are also planning going for plantation, and mangrove plantation also going on in different phases. So in this way we are planning so that we can mitigate our pollution, and we are also planning carbon handling operations so that minimum energy is consumed in that area. And we also, in future, if this greenhouse effect, due to the greenhouse effect, that water rises, then we are planning our bath, height of the bath, so to a certain extent, so that it can handle that situation. That's all.
Thank you so much, sir. We understand the challenge that you handle. We have to handle way more traffic than we do right now, and we have to create a much lesser ecological footprint than we have right now. So it's a very challenging job. We thank you for sharing your experiences and doing what you do for us. With that, we come to an end of the sharing from the panel. We started this session about 20 minutes delayed. We've been given a few grace minutes in lieu of that. Let's open the floor for a couple of comments, questions. I see a number of hands going up. It's going to be challenging on how we manage this. What we'll do is let's hear a few comments and questions. We may not have the time to answer each one of them, but I will then request Dr. Shailesh Agrawal and Dr. Nath, who are our commentators for this session, to just help us, think ahead. Okay, let me do a count. We've got 4 hands there. We've got a number of hands. So let's do one thing. Let's be fair. We don't see any hands on this side. Let's take 2 from here. Let's take 2 from the back and 1 from here. We'll take 5 comments. My sincere apologies for those hands which will not get covered, but we'll have a tea break right after this, so we will be moving ahead. Since you're both sitting together, ma'am, may I request you first, and sir, at the back you had raised your hands. There's one hand right at the back, one ma'am you have there, and one gentleman over here. So we'll go in this order. We'll take the comments, questions together, and then we'll come back to the panel. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I'm Archana Sarkar, scientist from the National Institute of Hydrology in Roorkee. So I don't have a question, it's sort of an observation, and this is regarding the agriculture sector. As Mr. Chetan, he told us about the wonderful projects they are doing, and the project in Maharashtra. So he mentioned about the crop waste which is happening, and it's a serious problem. So is it not possible if we have another sector, the oil sector on board, for them this crop waste is a resource. They can use it as for biofuels. Because in one of the conferences I was listening to this Director R&D of Oil India Corporation, and he said that now they are in the process of producing ethanol using sugarcane. So, and they can also use, they are using this parali which is burnt and which is hazardous. So they can also use this crop waste. So if somehow we can have a mechanism of having the sectors together, this can become a resource. Thank you.
It's a great intervention for connecting dots. Requesting again for you to be really brief. We will have to wind this up in about 7 minutes. So if you want to hear back from the panel, kindly be brief. Yes, sir.
Just 1 minute, please. सर अभी तक BMTPC से हमने हीट आइसलैंड के बारे में वहाँ पर क्या कार्रवाई हुई है इसके बारे में कुछ नहीं सुना, तो मैं चाहूँगा कि अर्बन हीट आइलैंड जो बन रहे हैं वो अब रियलिटी हो गए हैं। हर गली से रोड पर आने के बाद, गली से बाजार में जाने के बाद 5 से 7 डिग्री का टेम्परेचर डिफरेंस स्पष्ट फील होता है। तो इस पर जो क्लैडिंग मटेरियल्स भी मार्केट में जो भी बड़े बड़े हाउसेस बन रहे हैं उसमें क्लैडिंग मटेरियल इंटीरियर तो हम हीट रेजिस्टेंट रखते हैं, लेकिन एक्सटीरियर में मेटेलिक क्लैडिंग लगा देते हैं, उससे भी बहुत कुछ असर पड़ता है। तो क्या कुछ एक्सटर्नल क्लैडिंग मटेरियल्स ऐसे हो सकते हैं जिससे कि हीट आइसलैंड से बचा जा सके?
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आपने ऐसा मुद्दा उठाया जो हम सभी को इम्पैक्ट करता है, तो शैलेश जी से हम ये भी सुनना चाहेंगे कि कहाँ उपाय निकल सकते हैं। सर, राइट एट द बैक।
सर, मेरा नाम डॉक्टर जीवन कुमार है, बिहार स्टेट डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट अथॉरिटी से हैं सर। 3 पॉइंट हम रखना चाह रहे हैं। पहला पॉइंट हमारा जो रोड सेफ्टी, एक रोड एक्सीडेंट से हमारे इंडिया में या एवरी स्टेट की बात करें तो डेथ सबसे ज्यादा है और एसडीजी का पार्ट भी है। लेकिन अभी भी जब हम रेजिलियंस और सस्टेनेबिलिटी की बात करते हैं वहां पर कहीं भी इस और बहुत से स्टेट में अभी ये नोटिफाइड डिजास्टर नहीं है। इवन एनडीएमए में भी है या नहीं अभी कंफर्म शायद नहीं है। लेकिन बिहार की बात करें तो हमारा ये नोटिफाइड डिजास्टर है और हमारा ट्रांसपोर्ट डिपार्टमेंट प्रॉपर उसके लिए एक्स ग्रेसिया का प्रोविजन है। और जो डेथ्स होती हैं ये पहले डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट की ओर से होता था, अभी ट्रांसपोर्ट ने ले लिया इसको। दूसरा पॉइंट मेरा ये था कि जो हाउसिंग की बात हो रही है, हाउसिंग में हम हमारे यहाँ हम कहना नहीं चाहेंगे, अथॉरिटी के द्वारा मैसन्स जो कि हमारे घर बनाते हैं और इंजीनियर्स का अर्थक्वेक सेफ हाउसिंग पे 7 डेज 5 डेज का काफी मॉडल एक ट्रेनिंग होता है। अभी हम लोग प्रोपागेट कैसे इसको कर रहे हैं, जैसे हमारे सोनपुर मेला है, कैटल फेयर है बहुत बड़ा, वहां पर स्टॉल्स के थ्रू कि कैसे उन मैसन्स का उपयोग किया जाए घरों को बनाने में। तो इस तरह से जब हम ग्रास रूट पे मूव करेंगे, अपने जो सिर्फ ट्रेनिंग और कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग कर देने से नहीं, उसको कैसे हम लिंक करेंगे, ये एक इम्पोर्टेंट। तीसरा पॉइंट मेरा जो था उसमें हाँ, अभी कैटिल्स की बात हो रही थी, लाइव स्टॉक। जैसे बिहार जैसे स्टेट में लाइव स्टॉक लाइवलीहुड का मेजर वो है, लेकिन हम लोग इनिशिएटिव लेकर के वहां पर जितने वेटनरी डॉक्टर्स हैं स्टेट्स में लगभग 1200 उनका ट्रेनिंग कराया है। 345 लाइव स्टॉक जो असिस्टेंट्स हैं उनका ट्रेनिंग करवाया है, प्लस उनको डायरेक्ट मॉनिटरिंग हो रही है इस डिपार्टमेंट के द्वारा। तो ये कुछ एक्ट्स जो सेक्टरल की बात हो रही थी अथॉरिटी के द्वारा किया जा रहा है। और लेकिन मेरा एक सबमिशन है, रोड एक्सीडेंट के उसमें जो एसडीजी का एक पार्ट है, ये जरूर ही डिस्कशन का, क्योंकि सबसे डेथ फ्लड में कितनी डेथ होती है, फ्लड में मात्र 600 से 700 डेथ होती है। यहाँ हमारे अपने स्टेट की बात करें तो 8000 एबव है अभी, कोविड पीरियड में थोड़ा सा कम था। तो यही सबमिशन था। थैंक यू सो मच।
थैंक यू, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद डॉक्टर जीवन। आपने बड़े मुख्य बिंदु उठाए हैं। जो आपने रोड एक्सीडेंट्स की बात करी, हमारे देश में 1.5 लाख जानें प्रति वर्ष रोड एक्सीडेंट्स में जाती हैं, जिनको हम बड़े बड़े आपदाएं समझते हैं, उन सब के आंकड़े मिलाएं तो भी उससे ज्यादा है। सो रोड शिपिंग, एयरवेज, कैसे इनको एड्रेस करेंगे? वी विल लुक टू डॉक्टर अरूप टू इंक्लूड दिस इन हिज फाइनल कमेंट्स. My sincere apologies, we'll not be taking any new hands. One lady over there and one hand. So I'll come to you in a moment. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Dr. Rama Pandey from the School of Planning and Architecture, Bhopal. So I'm attending this summit since first day, and what I have observed that the discourse on bridging the gap between this academia, theory, policy, and practice is not getting highlighted much over here. We need the future practitioner to have this adaptive decision-making capacity. So it is, this is just my submission that we need to strengthen, especially the higher education institution, for this interdisciplinary discourse which is happening over here. And I would like to have the outcome of this summit to be circulated to all HEIs so that it can get reflected in their curriculum and they can get prepared more for the future.
Thank you so much for that really valuable suggestion. This is something I will take charge as a moderator to take to NIDM, Dr. Gupta and others. We'll make sure that this is followed. Thank you so much for that suggestion. Yes, sir.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to draw attention on the agricultural sector resilience. So, for agriculture risk management, the risk management tools like credit and insurance, it's very useful and very substantial tool. However, the implementation and utilization of it is significantly backdropped. So I would like to hear from Dr. Suresh sir, if you would like to suggest any possible solution for that, if we are planning for the 2047 vision.
Can you also introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Ramakant Naik from TIS Mumbai. So basically, when I go to the field and see the farmers, and the input cost of agriculture is rapidly rising. However, the output is not in compared to that. So in addition to that, this climate change effect, disaster effect happens.
Got it.
So in order to build resilience, so this management, risk management tool are very substantial. So, but it is not no implementation and utilization is
Thank you.
So
Thank you so much.
Thank
you so much. So we've taken note of all 5 interventions. One was more of a comment, so I don't think Chetan needs to really respond to that. But from TIS, from a young participant, we have a question for you, Dr. Suresh. Would you like to address this before we move to the commentators?
Thank you. Thank you so much. I would like to address 2 of these.
Please.
The first one and last one.
Please.
The first one was about that Madam raised the issue of converting the farm waste into energy. So certainly it is possible, and we are taking very good steps in this line. But remember, all the farm waste, they are not doable in the form of energy. And what my friend was talking from here, he was referring more to the mandi waste. The mandi waste, particularly the vegetable mandi waste, this portion doesn't give much energy. So rather we prefer to convert that portion to compost and composting fertilizers and enriching some composts. But sugarcane, certainly there is a possibility. And also you referred of this parali. Parali also has one component, and that can be converted to bio-CNG. Sincere efforts are being made in this, I'm telling you. Sincere efforts with the help of private partners, with the help of the foreign partners, we are trying to come up with some technology. Technology is already standardized. Only thing, implementation part is left. Couple of years, we will have a lot of such kind of plants established in India. The youngest colleague from this side, certainly this risk assessment is important, but risk management more and more important. Involvement of credit institutions, insurance institutions is very, very important. And for 2047 and for 2030, we have already written in our documents, and this is very, very important part of us. And we are trying to come up with new instruments. Some of the things we already tried in PM BFY, that is Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, PMFBY. So in Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, already we tried to link something, and based on the successes we have achieved there, and also our failures in PMFBY. We are learning from those failures, and we are now equipped to try to come up with a new scheme which will take straightway the help of our risk management institutions, be it insurance institutions or other institutions, and in tune with the agriculture insurance company. In line with that, we are now bringing up more and more partners, more government initiatives, and also involving more private partners, so that we can really provide the resilience to the ground level farmers. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. I'll now turn to our two distinguished commentators, Dr. Shailesh and Dr. Arup, for their closing comments on this. Sir.
Okay. The questions related to me, crop residue, heat island effect. Crop residue, Archana, you asked a very valid question. I think Dr. Suresh has already answered it, but let me tell you, there are few laboratories of CSIR who are already working in this area, and pretty soon we will have biofuel. Another thing, because you are a civil engineer, crop residue is gainfully utilized to convert it into building materials. There are couple of startups which I know, they have already, in fact, one of CSIR laboratory in Bhopal, they have converted parali into different kinds of building boards and other things. I know there is a company from Uttarakhand. They are converting hemp into a load-bearing wall panel. Okay, and there are a whole lot of companies who are into, making pavers using this agriculture residue. Also, biofuels. We already have a technology on RDF, refuse-derived fuels. So pretty soon we will have, utilization of crop residue. Heat island effect. Dr. Saab, you asked a very valid question. Unfortunately, being a structural engineer, I have made my life simpler. I don't work in that area, but let me tell you, pretty soon we are going to have heat island effect guidelines. It is often ignored. So what we have done under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, any project, we have to keep 25% of land area open, green. So that's the intervention from our side, but it is ignored. And in next vulnerability atlas, we will try to include heat island effect. This time we included thunderstorms, because when we, planning to publish our vulnerability atlas, if you remember, we were told by IMD that thunderstorm is the biggest disaster in climate change. Most of the deaths are occurring because of thunderstorm. So this time we included thunderstorm. So taking cue from you, we will pretty soon through ministry we will try to publish, guidelines on heat island effect.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, the housing, masons and engineers, very valid question being asked by a person from Bihar, and Anshu, you also remember, Professor Arya was the honorable, member. In fact, he was the chairman, vice chairman of Bihar BSDMA, and Bihar was the first state where we started a course, a 7-week course for engineers and masons. And still a lot is to be done, but under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, we do impart training to masons regarding earthquake. But again, there is a lot to be done when it comes to implementation. Professor Rama Pandey, you have asked a very valid question. BMTPC is the organization which is a bridge between what is happening in the academics and field level applications. Every institute in the country, right now, we are running 2 courses, one on sustainable technologies and another one is Vulnerability Atlas. In these 2 courses, we have collaborated with SPA Delhi. And in fact, SPA Bhopal also is partnering with the ministry. And, wherever we are doing these lighthouse projects, we have involved the academic institutions of around to come and visit them and collaborate with us. In fact, we have identified 4 IITs in one CSIR laboratory as ASHA India centers. ASHA is Affordable Sustainable Housing Accelerator. And they are being given grants where, new ideas can be incubated, and if the technology is ripe enough, then it can be accelerated. That's all. Road safety, I can't answer. That's a very valid thing. So I think Anshu will answer that. And there is one question on farmers. I think Suresh ji has
already answered that. Thank you so much, Shailesh ji. जो हीट आइलैंड की बात आपने बताई, इसके अलावा एनडीएमए की एक बड़ी विस्तृत गाइडलाइंस हैं और कुछ हैंडबुक्स भी हैं जो उनके वेबसाइट पर उपलब्ध हैं. और स्कूल ऑफ प्लानिंग एंड आर्किटेक्चर हीट पर बड़ा काम करता है. अर्बन हीट पर तो अगर टी ब्रेक में आप नेटवर्किंग करना चाहें तो काफी सारी उस पर नॉलेज यहाँ भी हमको मिल जाएगी. डॉक्टर अरूप, may I turn to you for closing comments?
So today what we have seen, our regarding our disaster resilience. We have done a lot of work on these issues, and we are doing a lot of things regarding the disaster management programs. But the main important thing that we want to say, that in case of disaster, pre-planning is very important. If when a disaster comes, if we have a very good pre-planning, in that case, in the case of the post-disaster scenario, there will be less problems, there will be less impact. That we have experienced for last 153 years, what we have seen in our port sectors. Our planning we are doing in a such a way so that during disaster and after port disaster, very little impacts on the environment. Say, for example, in case of ports. So what we do in case of Sagar Island, in port area, roads, infrastructure, what we do generally, we first plant pruning trees, because that's very important, because a big tree, if it falls on a ship may get affected. If a big tree falls on a road system, road may be affected. Port has also own railway system. If you consider the port, even in case of a disaster, also in our municipality area, also roads are there, railways are there, and in port, roads are there, railways are also there, and water system is there. So first thing, we go for pruning of trees, and then second, we plan the things, say for example in ports, ships, then cargo equipments, we have to tighten it properly, tighten the ships properly in this way. In case of any village ecosystem, what we have seen, that the people who are staying in the coastal area, they need to be evacuated and taken to some safer place. And because a lot of storm shelters are there, these shelters also there in the Sagar area, Sagar Island area, or in every state there is some shelter areas. So most important is that they need to be evacuated from that area, and they need to give proper food, proper food, proper shelter, water, medicine. That has to be planned well in advance. You have to plan that this transport system. We have to plan for electrical systems that can be saved properly, and we have to keep also ready with the water, so that when there is any disaster, immediately after the disaster is over, you can supply water to them. Even during the disaster also, we have to keep a lot of people ready, so that a lot of laborers, lot of equipments, you have to get ready with the electrical officers, that is electrical department, then water supply department. We have to ask this labor department and a lot of other departments, district ministers, hospital authorities has to be asked keep their system ready. So in case of any disaster, they can be easily available during the disaster and after port disaster activities. So in this way, if we can plan, and then I think we can mitigate disaster at the long. And regarding greenhouse effect and this due to this global warming, already you have discussed a lot, and
yes.
you know, aware of this system.
Absolutely.
So with this, I again request you to go for planning the pre-disaster scenario. What are the things to be done, and accordingly you take action, so that during disaster and post-disaster activities, you can resolve the issue in the shortest possible time. In case of our port, what we have seen, at night we have, after the disaster, at 10 o'clock we have started operation of our port. 10 o'clock, ships sailed within by 1 p.m. So you can understand so how we have handled the disaster in this situation. I hope this session will help you in handling the problem.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Arup. Dr. Arup ने अपनी पहली इंटरवेंशन में ये भी कहा था कि डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट हमारे खून में है. Disaster management is in our blood. And I was reflecting that, till the age of our grandparents, probably what was in our blood was conservation, to make it easy to consume less and to carry forward. Unfortunately, हम तक आते आते वो disaster management, emergency management में, every morning till evening we are managing emergencies. In this discussion, we are looking at 2047. Let's switch back to conservation. Let's switch back to the kind of advice that we've heard today. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, dignitaries on the floor, distinguished panelists. My apologies again. There were a number of hands that were up. Let's use the tea break to do that. I think there's tea, but I'll leave that to our MC to please guide us on.
Thank you very much indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Please put your hands together for that wonderful session, and especially for our distinguished moderator for making it so interactive and interesting right from the beginning till the end. And let's have a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. And I would now invite Dr. Sushma Guleria from NIDM to kindly do the honors of presenting a token of gratitude on behalf of the organizers, and you can do it from the front, to our distinguished moderator, Dr. Anshu Sharma, co-founder, Seeds India. Thank you, ma'am, for doing the honors. I would now request Dr. Rohit Sharma from GIZ to present to Dr. Suresh Kumar Chaudhary, Deputy Director General, NRM ICAR. Thank you very much indeed, sir, for being here with us. I request you, sir, to present to Dr. Shailesh Agarwal, EDB and TPC. And to Shri Chetan Bhakkar, Grant Thornton India LLP. Thank you very much indeed. And I would now like to invite Dr. Pallavi Saxena, University of Delhi, to do the honors of presenting a token of gratitude to Shri Lalit Jain.
Sushma ji.
She's coming. And to Dr. Arup Nath. Ma'am, kindly do the honors of presenting to Dr. Arup Nath also. And I would request you to stay back also for the group photograph. May I request the panel for a group photograph, requesting Dr. Pallavi also to join, Dr. Sushma to join, Dr. Rohit Sharma. May I invite you to kindly join the panel for a group photograph. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, we will now break for tea. The tea break is of 10 minutes only. Tea is served outside in the lobby. Please do enjoy your cup of tea and join us back in time for the next session. Ladies and gentlemen, this tea is at the foyer area, and also the high tea in the evening will be served at the foyer. But now the tea is served outside in the lobby area. Please enjoy your cup of tea and coffee and join us back in 10 minutes for the next session. Thank you. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, hope you all have submitted your registration forms and collected your delegate bags. Also, please do not forget to visit the Parisambad sessions on the first floor, the exhibition and the selfie point. Thank you.